All right, so we're doing the button game, the number guessing game, and this is the document from which we're going to refer, right? Um, and this is our game. All right. I don't like how this is laid out, but why is it like that? I'll do this over here, all right? All right, so what did I say we needed? All right, so we need, let's go ahead and create a game manager and a game manager script. That way we can go ahead and open Visual Studio, and while that's opening, which takes a while, we can create the other UI elements. All right, so back to Unity. The game manager is just an empty object, which you should remember is Shift Command N or Control N on Windows, right? You can create in the menu, but you should Shift Command. Get used to using hotkeys because it's a lot more efficient, right? And then we're going to rename that game manager, right? All right, I'm going to go to project folder. Let's go ahead and this is definitely a substantial project, so we're definitely going to have a scripts folder, right? So underscore scripts. God, if I could type. All right, open that up. All right, in that folder, we're going to create a game manager script. Game manager, and it should turn to the little gear icon, and then we're going to open it the correct way by going to Open C# project. And let me know if I start to lag a lot, even though I want to create this video so that you can see it later. All right. While Visual Studio is opening, we can go ahead and create, let's see what else we need. All right. We need a start panel, an in-game panel, and an end game panel, right? All right, so now if you're gonna thinking ahead, if you're going to have you could have a win game and a lose game panel if you in fact have a timer or a number of guesses, right? I'm not going to create that now, but if you want to do that later, you can. But the original game, there's only a way of winning, right? You play until you win, so there's no way of losing. So just to let you know, but you could potentially have a loss option as well. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and create UI panel, and we'll go ahead and name this panel. I'll call it start panel. All right. All right. And then we're going to create another panel, UI panel, and we'll call it in-game panel. And then we'll have one more UI. This will be game over panel. All right, so we have 3 panels. Is it open yet? Yes, it is. Wait for that to load. All right, there's a blank game manager script there. All right. All right. So in the what we can do now, let's see. We'll need a start button. So when you start the game, it'll show the in-game panel, right? What we want to do is create our change game, set game state function first, right? We'll start with it. We're Well, we'll create references to all our to our game state, start panel, in-game panel, so forth, right? Since I'm lazy, I'm just going to take this right here and I'm going to copy it. I'll come over here, and you may do this as well, right? Because it's there for you taking. I'm not gonna. If you want to type it all, then you be my guest, right? Note the game state has squiggly lines under it. Anybody know why the game state has squiggly lines under it? If yours has squiggly lines under it, you can hover over the squiggly lines and it should tell you. What does it say? This is important to know how to do this stuff, because sometimes you will copy and paste code from an online resource and you'll get errors, and you need to know why you're getting errors, right? It's very important. Why is it not? It's not. There we go. Anybody know why it's an error? Anybody? You need to set your game states before the class in and in. Yes. I mean, it hasn't been defined yet, right? I copied and pasted from another resource, and I didn't copy and paste the definition of it, right? Did you copy everything from the file or something? I don't know, because otherwise it should be, or there's something going wrong with your Visual Studio, right? I mean, you may have come up here. You may have copied this line. If you copied this line up here, then it wouldn't be an error, right? But I didn't, so there is, right? So this is where game state gets defined right here, right? So we're going to take that. We're going to come up here before the class, paste that, right? Now the error goes away because you've defined game state, right? Game state is a data type just like any other, but we've defined it. We've defined the data type, right? It's a enum, right? All right, I'm just copying stuff from my previous assignments. Keeping records has its perks. Hey, that's cool. Yes, keeping records does have its perks. Very good. All right. All right, so we have our game states, and we have our panels, right? And we have a variable to hold our current game state. That's good. Now we're going to create this function called setGameState. And rather than type it all, I'm just going to be lazy and do that, right? And I've got the whole thing. Come down here. Make sure you're not inside of another function when you do this, right? So make sure there's plenty of space between that and update, and I paste the whole thing, right? I make sure all my tabbing is correct. It looks good. There are no errors, so that's good, right? Let's go through what this function does, right? It takes in a game state, right? And we call it GS, right? This is a parameter. So this is your variable parameter, right? We set the current game state to what we pass in, GS, right? Then we have a switch statement that switches on that variable, right? So if it's one of these, it sets the appropriate panel on or off, right? All right. So that's simple enough, right? Now we just need to use that, right? So all right. All right, so we don't have a start button yet, right? We need one. So let's go ahead and let's do that, right? Let's create a start button. Our start panel we need to get set up. So let's do that right now, right? All right, so into Unity, let's just, for the time being, select in-game and game over, and we'll just turn them off so they're not in our way. click on the Start panel, right? And we'll make that fully opaque, right? So we go down here, the alpha, right? And it's the Start panel, so let's make it green, right? You don't have to make it green. I'm just making it green because it makes it obvious that it's the Start panel, right? And now we need a button, UI button, right? And I'm going to anchor it squarely in the middle, right? And I'm going to call it Start Button. And the big part, you want to take the button and put it on the Start panel so that it's a child of that. So when I turn that panel off, it goes with it, right? All right, so in the Start button, you want to go to the text and put, obviously, Start, right? The button itself, just to be fancy, we'll make it yellow. Why not, right? I'm gonna make it larger as well, right? So what? That's weird. Okay, I can't move it. I can't move it. Huh. I've seen that before. I'll have to figure that out. I'm not worried about it right now, though. So for some reason I can't I can't drag the button around, but I don't know why. All right, so some weird Unity stuff. I'll figure that out there. There's a Start button. That's fine. We need some text just to say the name of a game, right? Normally you'd have a big logo on your menu screen. So let's do that. Game object UI text, right? And we will anchor this top middle. We will center there, right? Can I drag it? I can't drag it either. I've seen this before and I don't remember what caused it. Weird. All right. I don't know. I'm gonna put that on the Start panel as well. Okay. We'll call it title text. All right. We'll go in here and change it to number guessing game, right? Go away. All right. Can I change anything about it? I can. Well, now I can drag it. What the hell? That's odd. Okay. I don't know. That's weird. So we're going to change that to 56. All right. What color should that be? We'll go with orange. We'll make it look gaudy as crap, right? How about deep red there? All right. All right, so that looks sufficiently cheesy, right? Like I said, our artists out there, make sure, I want to see what you can do with this, make it really look, as nice as a number guessing game can possibly look, right? All right, so we have at least a screen to start with, right? So now we can create a function that actually uses that button, and you'll see that nicely we do have a function here already that called handle start button click, and it sets game state to game state playing and should get us going, right? All right, now we can call that from Unity, right? Go back to Unity, go to the button, all right, plus here. Remember, I don't think I've attached the game manager to the script to the game manager object, so let's do that now. I'm gonna make sure we haven't done that. Yeah, we did not. All right, so we can just do this right there, like that. All right. Now we can go back to the button, right? Because we need the script, the object to which the script is attached, right? So we go to the scene. Make sure you go to the scene game manager and not the one in assets folder, right? Because that's the actual script. Set game state, or did I read that wrong? Set game state. Well, the way this, if you want to do in game, you can, right? But the states were set up here as playing, right? So you want to use the states that are defined. If you want to define it as in game, that's fine, but it's going to be different than what's in this document. Okay. All right. So go here, scene, game manager. And then we go down here, game manager, handle start button click. All right. And did I format the set game state right? Format. What do you mean the set game state? The call itself? I mean, it looks right. Yet set game. I mean, if code completion works for you, then it's right. You know, if you type set game state and code completion does the work, then you've got it right. Right? If it's got a squiggly under it, then you got it wrong. All right. All right, so that should call that, and it should it's not going to do anything yet because we have to go in Game Manager and set up all of our panels and stuff, right? So our start panel, right, needs to be start panel. Our in-game panel is going to be our in-game panel, and our win panel is going to be our game over panel, right? If you want to name them exactly what you did here, that's fine too. Usually I try to do that, but I'm kind of flying fast and loose right now, right? So as long as it makes sense, you're all right. I do usually try to make my variables match up with the objects I have in Unity, but they don't have to. I mean, there's no rule saying that. It's just, it makes sense because it makes it cleaner and easier to put all together. All right, so this is saved. So now when we click that button, right, it should in fact take us to another panel. Let's see. All right, so it's running. Start button's there. All right, that's good. All right, so that's what it's supposed to do, right? So we're moving ahead. All right. And technically, we should go. I don't know why it's not. Maybe it did it further down here. Let's see. Yeah, see, they updated the game manager down here to make sure that you're in the menu state at the beginning, right? So I'm going to just copy that. Come in the start function. You always want to do this in the start function. You want to make sure that it sets the game state to the whatever starting state you want it to be in, right? That's just always wise, right? What else we got here? All right, so Now, once we get to in-game state, right, let's go ahead and handle that panel, right? So the start panel we can disable for now, right? In-game, we're going to turn it on. We'll go ahead and make it opaque as well. Let's make it some other different color just so we can tell that we're in a different panel, right? I'll make it blue. All right. All right, as I said, we need a prompt text here. We need a input field, and we need a button, right? So here, this is the majority of the game takes place right here, as the panel name would imply, right? Sorry. Oh man. All right, so we need a prompt text, input field, button, right? So here we go. UI text. We're going to call that prompt text, right? And I don't know if that's what they called it in the code or not, but we'll see. All right, in-game panel, put that on there, right? Let's put that, we're going to anchor it at the top, middle, center. Bring that down some, right? Make it larger like that. We will make it bright yellow. My color is going to be crazy because I don't really care right a second. And 56, and maybe that might be a little large. 44, maybe. All right. And I'll just put prompt because that's going to be changing here in a second, right? All right. All right. So we need an input field, right? UI input field, right? And this all anchor solidly in the middle. And I'll make it larger, right? All right. And then I'll have a button. And I'm going to anchor it at the bottom and bring it up some, right? All right. Now I'll also make it larger. I will make the button. So this is going to be my submit button. So always try to name your things correctly, right? Input field, answer, or guess input field maybe. All right. Let's put that on in-game panel as well, and just let's see, just to make sure they're all on the same panel. Yep. All right. Okay. Am I losing anybody? Anybody like struggling here? Luckily, I am recording this, so hopefully I'll get this up by tomorrow is the plan, right? And I know last week's I still haven't gotten up, all right? Because I suck. All right, here we go. Let's. I'm gonna make the text larger on the button, and we'll make it say submit, or guess. And the input field we'll make larger as well. And we'll say enter guess, right? Text. All right. So that should set us up nicely for what we need to do now, right? All right, so let's save it. 9:38. We'll see if we get through most of this today, hopefully. All right, so what we need to do now, right? first off, now we're to the point where I think Jacob was the one that said the only thing he needed was the random number generator, right? All right. So how do we do that exactly, right? Let's look at that. Unity random number, right? Here we go, random range. And I'll put this in the notes, right? Where are they at? Right there. Random numbers. Is there anybody in the notes today? Nobody's in the notes. That's sad. Y'all should be in the notes, right? Is anybody about to join me? You're supposed to be in here, right? This is part of logging into class. It should be in the notes, right? Anyway, there's a link to there, and Landon has joined us, so that's good. All right. So you'll note there's a couple different versions, right? You can get a float, which is not what we want, right? Because we want an integer here. We want it. There's a float version and there's an integer version, right? Note that there's a difference, right? When you get a float, there's min inclusive and max inclusive. That means that when it rolls that random number, that the min you put in there and the max could both be part of the result, right? Note that the integer version of this, the minimum is inclusive and the max is exclusive, right? Which means that, so if you put 0 to 10, you're actually going to get 0 to 9, right? So you want to realize that, right? So if you want a number 1 to 50, right, you actually have to put 1 to 51 in there. And there's why that is, I think I understand, but maybe later on in your programming life I'll explain to you, because I think it would be more than you really care to know right now. All right. And it explains that right here. It says max exclusive is exclusive. So, for example, random range 0 to 10 returns 0 to 9, right? So you just need to know that, right? So our cases, what we're going to do now is just do 1 to 10, right? So when do we need to do this? When do we need to roll this number? That's the question, right? And let me see if our notes talk about this at all, right? All right, so they actually do it in the handle start button click, which makes sense. It's like starting up the game. And they call it output text, right? I'm going to call it prompt text because that's what I called it in there. If you want to call it output text because that's what they called it, then by all means do that, right? I am going to call it prompt text. So let's go in here and let's say public prompt public. What do we got to do first? I hadn't done that yet. All right. I need to do this, right? Using Unity engine.ui like that, right? And then I can use that text object public. What the hell, right? Stop public text. Oh, I hate when it does that. Right? Text prompt text. All right. And I can just I'm going to copy that much of it, right? And in this handle start button, I can go prompt text equals that, right? And then they create, all right, so so we need to create that number to guess because we haven't done that yet, right? So up here, we're going to say public int, lordy, right? number to guess, right? And they did it incorrectly because that would give them a 0 too, right? So don't copy that. If you want 1 to 50, 0 to 51 will give you 0 to 50, right? And your user won't guess 0 because you didn't tell him that 0 was an option. So I didn't catch that before, but that is a mistake, right? So this needs to be 1 to 51, right? Also, this is important. Note that their next line actually puts the number to guess in the debug log. Any guesses why you'd want to do that? Yes, it makes it easier to test, right? First off, it makes sure you're actually getting a random number, and you can test whether it's low, high, or correct really quickly that way. Yes, that's why we use the debug log. In fact, you might, before you build the final version, you might actually have a debug text on screen that shows you the answer, right? I mean, actually something that you would take out of that final build, right? But it's a cheat basically, so that when you're testing the build, you can actually see it, right? Yes, it's odd that something called the debug log would actually be used for debugging. Yes, go figure, right? All right. I wish we were in class sometimes. All right, my humor plays better in person, I think. All right. Anyway, so that should get us a number, right? So let's go ahead and we should be able to see that in the debug log now, so that we can move on. 14 minutes. All right. So can we do this? All right. That is the question. So we should be able to see the number. Let's go ahead and open the console and run it. And we should, at least when we click the start button, we should be able to get a number up. Oh, I didn't set everything up. All right, so go to Game Manager. Yep, prompt text. All right, now it should work. All right, start. All right, 39. So the answer is 39, right? We haven't set up anything else yet. We haven't set up the guess button. We're getting real close to having the game kind of finished, right? So you can start putting your own little sparkles on there soon, right? Awesome. All right, so let's stop that. And all right, next, right? I can't check my messages right now. All right, so always keeping an eye on the mother-in-law. So what are we doing now? All right, so now we have the random number generator creating a number, right? Now we just need the code that when you click the button, it takes what's in that box and compares it with what is in our number to guess, right? So, and is that here as well? Yes. All right. So, the first thing we need to do, right, because we've learned that these input fields, what you pull out of them is always a string, right? It's not an integer. And we need to compare two integers. We can't compare two strings like we need to, right? So we have to convert or parse the input field into a number first, right? And the whole function is right here. So I can just be really lazy and copy that. Don't copy the end of the class right there. See that? that if you copy that, you'll have an extra curly bracket. You don't want that. All right, so we can just paste that in here. All right, so in here where they define user guest number somewhere else, right? So up at the top, right? So we're gonna, I'm just gonna copy that, right? You go to the top, come down a little bit, and public int paste, right? All right, and that goes away. This we don't have an input field yet, so let's create that public. Oh man, all right, trying to go too fast. If I could type, it would be awesome. Public input field, and we'll call it I field since that's what it's called down there, and that should go away. Yes, all right. And this needs to be prompt text. Prompt text. I'm just going to copy that. This is important. What I'm doing right here is when you start copying and pasting code from online sources, right, you need to know how to fix your code to work with your code, right? That's why I don't really have a problem with you copying and pasting code, because sometimes the work you have to do to make it work is more work than if you typed it yourself, right? And you have to understand what they did. And the process of doing that is a learning process in and of itself, such that it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile programming exercise, right? All right, so all right, let's just go through this real quick so you know what's going on, right? So we're going to click the button. It's going to pull out the text from the input field here, change it into an integer, right? And then we can compare it with our number to guess, right? So if the number to guess is over a used guess, all right, that means we're under, right? And your guess is too low. I would compare them the other way, but I'm not sure who did this. But and number to guess is less than user guess, then the guess is too high. Otherwise, see, they really didn't need to do this, right? If it's over or under, you could just put an else here, and you don't even need this if statement, right? But it's kind of for completeness sakes, I guess. But you can assume if it's not over and not under, then it is equivalent, right? But if so, it puts game state game over, all right? Pretty simple, right? And now we just need to come here, make sure everything's set up there. That input field. Random range is not allowed to be called from a model behavior constructor. Call it in the wake or start. Instead, call it from model behavior. I don't. I don't. Is it written random range int all one word like that? Because mine is random dot range. And it's not in a constructor. Oh, yes, you're declaring the variable. See, I'm not declaring this variable in this function. I declared it up here, and then just set it down here. That's the difference. If you're calling that in the function, that's what you can't call a public. You can't call a public integer inside of a function like that. That's the problem. That makes sense. So you need to declare it up here as a class variable and then use it down here. All right, so if you fix that, that should fix it. All right. We have everything set up. Input field. No, yep, I was about to do that. Just input field. There we go. All right, now we just need to call that function. No, I was trying to declare and set at the same time. Yeah, the thing is, you can have you can declare variables inside of a function, but they can't be public, right? Because by definition, we've talked about scope of variables before, right? You could come in here and say, you could do that. But this now is a different number than the one I declared earlier, right? All right. Okay, I'm not sure where you did it then. Or did you try to use random up here? Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe that was it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would. Yeah. Apparently, that is an error. I don't know that I've ever tried to do it there because I. The fact is, you're going to have to every time you play the game again, which you should always allow the player to do. You're going to have to roll this random number again. So I've never set it up. I don't think I've ever tried to set it up there. So I've never encountered that error. Right. We're running out of time, so I'm trying to finish up here. All right. So at this point, we need to just go to the button, the submit button, and we need an action, and it's going to be the game manager and the scene, and game manager handle submit button, click. And now should be able to run it. Our game over doesn't have anything in it yet, right? So, but it should start working, right? And the number is 28, so let's go 24. Guess is low. That's fine. Let's go 30. Guess it's high. 28. Yes. All right. So now all we need is something in our game over script and a play again button, and we are about done with this bad boy, right? So let's do that real quick. So UI, let's see. Let's go ahead and we'll just, whoops. What did I just do? I disabled that for some stupid reason. All right. There. Let's do this quickly. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Can I do it in 4 minutes? I think so. Yes. All right. Game over. UI. Text. Right. There. Anchor top. Pull down. Center. Center. Make larger. 56. You won. Yay. All right. And then put that on game over panel. Game object. UI. Button. Game over panel. Let's anchor it at the bottom. Pull it up. Make it larger. Text. Play again. All right. Button. You should name it play again button or something like that logically, but I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to do that. We just need, all we have to do is go to the game manager again, scene, game manager, and there's no real difference between the start button and the play again button, right? So we're just going to say handle start button clicked. And that should about do it, right? So let's play. And you should make that better looking than I did. But start. The number's 21. We go 20. Yes. 22. Too high. 21. Yes, you won. Play again. And what you want to do is kind of clear out that that input field, right? But I'm running out of time. I'll let you work on that. How would you do that, right? So in the submit, in the start game, you'll probably want to clear out the text from the input field so that there's not something there, right? But that's pretty much it, right?